There you go. You've heard that.
Yes,
All
I
right.
did.
Well, g'day, Rick. This is an official intro now. So I'm pretty sure that a lot of people would know who you are. But anyway, Rick, N8SDR. G'day.
Good evening to you, Ivan. Hope all is well on your side.
Yes, it is, mate, indeed. Yeah, and great to have you. I'm really honored to and privileged to have you spend an hour with us talking about this beautiful concept of the eSSB audio. And the reason why I had you the top of the list is obviously because I wanted to learn something new. And when I say something new is you'll tell us about it in a second. But you run a completely digital setup, so not a traditional rec gear, as if I can call it that way. And
Yes.
yeah, but we'll get to it. So like I said, no real structure to this meeting as such. But the first and foremost, we want to hear about how do you run your setup. Talk to us about the what's it called, the VST plugins, and how do you plug it into the radio, pipe it in, and all that sort of jazz. Recover.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's really technically not a VST type of situation. I would call this more of a middle ground between an actual physical rack and going the DAW VST route. I use something that's called an XAir. It's made by Behringer, and basically what it is, it's pretty much like a DAW in a separate box. That's all the processing, all of the all of the plugins and things are physically located in that box. You basically have a computer GUI interface
Okay.
that you can control everything with.
So,
So
so if I can interrupt you there rudely for a second, so XAir is a kind of like a mixer, but it's got brain. You can actually load in all of your plugins in it, yeah?
well, all of the plugins are physically located on that box. So you can't actually add any other plugins that are, you can't bring a plugin from outside into that
Okay.
box.
Yep.
So I guess they're all hard coded inside the box itself. So the
Yep.
only time you get like a new plugin or a VST, if you want to call it that, would be from doing a firmware upgrade if they release something new.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. And how do you pipe that audio from the what's it called, the XAir into the rig? Oh, that's just you're using the Hermes slide, so I'm assuming that's just you just pick it as a card.
Basically, yes. So um, the
Or
microphone
LAN.
that I use it's a small diaphragm condenser mic, and it's made by a company called Blue. It's called the Ember, and
Yep.
then that plugs into an input channel. There's in the XAir that I'm running is called the XR12. So there's 12 physical inputs with it, and then 2 outputs.
Yep.
So I run that into the XAir and then do all the processing in the XAir. Come out of the XAir. The only piece of physical hardware that I run is a separate piece of rack gear, which is an older Virtualizer Pro. It's the 2024P, and
Yep.
I only do that for a little bit of plating on the high end of syllables.
Yep.
I found that the reverb that's offered in the XAir, it works. It's great for like band vocals and things like that. For actual like reading vocals or spoken vocals, I'm not a real big fan of it. It works,
Mm.
um, although the Virtualizer Pro does a much better job on that. So I come out of the XAir into the Virtualizer Pro, out of the Virtualizer Pro into a DI box, and then directly into the front of the Hermes Light 2. I do have the 2 Plus. I've actually got a couple of them, so it has a mic
Yeah.
input jack. So that's how I pick it up.
Yeah. Fair enough. And with XAir, you've got all that stuff on your screen, yeah. So there's actually a graphic, like the GUI, like graphic user
Yes,
interface, yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Actually, here I can probably, I
Yeah. Share
should
the
be able.
screen.
Yeah, I was going to try to see. Let's see if we can share this.
I think
Share
that'll be beneficial because people will then be able to see it. There you go.
there. So
Ah,
this
cool.
is this is the XAir.
Yep.
Let me move this down a little bit so I can actually see it. Did you lose it or is it still there?
No, it's still there. Perfect.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So this is the XAir, and basically you have your mic inputs, which I'm using on the third channel here. So,
Yep.
and then you can name your profile. You can give all these things different names and stuff. But
Yes.
if you go into here on your channel, you also have your phantom power if you need it for
Yep.
obviously any type of condenser mic.
Yep.
And then you can link your first plugins, your effects. The XAir 12 will allow you to do 4 different effects. I only and I'll show you that when I get over to the effects block on this.
Yep.
I'm only
Yep.
running 2 of those. So basically you have your noise gate, you have an equalizer. Whoops, I just turned it off. Hopefully it's back on.
Yep.
So all of your gating settings are here, so you can do
Awesome.
different types of gatings.
Yep.
You know, you can do different types of expanders, downward gates, you know, acousticals. And you've got a whole range of settings in here, which is nice.
Yes.
And then you have your first EQ,
Yep.
which you have here.
Yep.
And then this is all, you know, graphically laid out. And then you also have, this is nice because you also have a real-time,
Oh, the analyzer.
Yeah, a real-time analyzer in here as well. So
Yep.
That's nice. And you can also turn it on speculative view. So
Yes.
you can see, you know, where the hotspots are and things like that as well.
Yeah.
There's, like I said, there's a lot of features that are in this that, bang for buck, it's a really nice combination of, like, say, a bunch of different individual rack pieces that are in one box. And like I said, it's just a GUI interface. So you're not using any computer resources. You're not using any of your computer resources because it's all just a GUI interface. Everything is done. All the processing is done in that box itself.
Yeah.
Of course, you have your.
So Rick, you can run that box without the PC being turned on.
That is correct.
Okay.
I can. I mean, I didn't even have the software loaded. I was, you know, once you load it and you have it set, you know, you pick your profile. I can turn the box off, leave the hardware, turn the box back on, leave the software off, then it comes right back up. So
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I get it. That's pretty cool, and I like the fact that it's not dependent on the PC power. So it's actually not draining your PC in order to process the audio.
No, you're not. Correct. You're not using any PC resources, you know, which is very, very something you want to stay away from, especially in, like, say, you know, the SDR realm where you have a software running for the radio control itself.
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
You know this, and most of the guys that are doing SDRs know that, you know, the less computer resources you're using, the better off you are to avoid the little pops and cracks and weird stuff that, you know, digital artifacts that happen with SDR sometime.
Yeah, fair enough. And how do you do all of your plugins down here, or do you just go through the tabs at the top there? Did you show me before?
Yeah.
Like
So okay. So here, let me get over to. So basically,
oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, you have these are all built in, like I was saying. So I'm only running 2 of them.
Yes.
The 2 that are lit up is inserted right now.
Yes.
So the first one is a second EQ, which is basically a combination of. It's kind of a knockoff of like the Pultec EQ.
Pultec. Yep.
Yeah. So you can click on these and pop these out. Hopefully, did that show up? Yeah. Hopefully.
Yes, it does.
So you can pop these out so you got a better view of what's going on with them, and then you can make all of your adjustments here. And, you know, just and the neat thing about this is you can actually go through and save, like, the individual settings for that effect.
Oh, okay.
Cool. You can save those, so you can always recall just that individual effect. And then the other one I run is the dual combinator. Now, the dual combinator, this is really neat. This is basically a multi-band compressor.
Okay.
It's basically a 5-band multi-band compressor. So this, I think, is one of the big key things with the XAir.
Cool. And that's stock. That's not a third-party plugin that you need to buy. That comes with it, yeah?
That's correct. Yeah, there is no
Yeah.
plugins you can actually buy. Like I said, all the plugins are, they're not really plugins. They're all built into the box
Yes.
itself.
Yes, you're right.
So you
I'm
just
sorry. I keep
no,
calling
you're
them
fine.
plugins. I keep calling them plugins because I'm used to that term, but they're actually not plugging at all, because they're all proprietary thing of the XAir, aren't they? Well,
Correct. Yes.
in one way or the other, the XAir has bought them and put them in a box.
Correct. Yeah. Some of them are copies of other, known effects, like
Yes.
here, like let's take this dual enhancer for example. This is kind of a knockoff of
SPL.
Apex. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
It's, it's a little bit of a knockoff of that.
Yes.
Obviously
Yes.
I'm not running it, but in here you can go, hopefully this shows up. You can
Oh
go
yeah.
and you can look at your
The
types of
options.
yeah. So
I just saw something that looks like that BBL, the red one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
This guy.
yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah, the
right.
sound maximizer. Yeah.
Yes.
So all these are built into the XAir itself.
Yes.
So you can just select these and then, make your changes, and here's the dual exciter.
Yes.
Very reminiscent of the
the 204.
of the Apex.
Yes, yep. Yes.
So
and Rick, how's the latency and stuff into the radio?
it's almost non-existent.
Yeah, there you go. I was going to say that, because there's no PC processing, and there would be hardly any latency, was my guess.
Right. I mean, because it's all being processed in that box, and it's directly, physically on the box itself, all of that is cut way down, as opposed to doing something like VSTs with software in a DAW program.
And look, to be hand on heart, I reckon, if you're gonna run a DAW, doesn't matter which one you want to run, all of the better ones are very, very resource hungry in terms of the PC power. And then on top of that, you got your Thetis or whatever you're running in terms of the SDR, and that's also very resource hungry as well. So I think you would need to have a really a powerful machine if you're gonna run, DAW kind of setup. I would say. Plus the plugins, if you want the good ones, they're expensive.
Yes, yeah, they're expensive. Some of them, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's a lot of decent free VSTs out there to get somebody started into this rabbit hole. Because I'm telling you, once you get started into eSSB and you get hooked on it, man, you can drop a load of money really quick.
Oh yeah, yeah.
especially with hardware and plugins and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what I paid for the XAir. I've had mine a few years now. I know they've gone up in price a little bit, but it was under $400. So I mean, if you're looking at let's just look at it this way. I mean, look at all these you have in here. You know, all these separate individual rack pieces. You would spend thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
For all this stuff. I mean, here's
LA to A.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
I mean, you got limiters, compressors.
Hey, that's a Poltec though. But I was going to say, reminds me of the TubeTech as well. TubeTech multiband, because they're blue. But yeah, that's really, really interesting, and really like $400-500 for the box for the XAir is nothing, I would say, compared to the real rack gear.
Correct. And obviously there's a lot of stuff in here you would never use for over the air stuff. Like, I mean, obviously you wouldn't want to run a stereo phaser or a flanger or chorusing or dimensional chorus. I mean, the neat thing with something like this is, especially for somebody like you, myself, because I do a little bit of guitar work and bass work sometimes. John N8SDR, who's really he's a really great musician. I don't know if you know that or not. No. He actually teaches guitar courses. For somebody like him, this would be a great thing, because you could use it for both your radio, and your your musical hobbies.
Music hobbies, yes, yes. Well, look, I can tell you something that I I don't actually use my rack for anything related to music anymore because I'm I'm very well aware of the fact that if I mark up the settings that I got there right now, it'll take me days, absolutely days to get it back on, and they will be like, Adam, how does this sound? And they will be there for like 3 days on 20 meters between me and Adam. Poor Adam had to put up with my stuff so many times in the past, but that's all part of the learning curve, I would say. But in terms of going back to your concept here, what really intrigues me is that a lot of people think that eSSB is a very expensive kind of hobby within a hobby, but this just proves it that for the $1,000 or so, you can get yourself set up, really nicely. And this is all leading in, Rick, to the Hermes and the VK3 AMP combo as well. So I'll let you talk about that now as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's like I said earlier, and you know it, and anybody in this hobby knows it. It's very, very easy to drop a wad of money very, very quickly.
Yes.
I have gone after this concept of let's see how cheaply you can do this, and by using the word cheaply, I'm not meaning cheap equipment. Let's see how least expensive you can go into this and still produce something that's really good.
You said before, what's it called? What's the term? The biggest bang for the buck, I think.
Yes.
And
bang for the buck.
If you're gonna put it in that perspective, then you definitely achieved what you wanted to do. Because let's face it, you sound just as good as any of us. I mean, like, I can't really pick the difference on air. I spoke with you like a number of times on air, and you sound absolutely normal, like as if you're running a real rack.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. Hey, I want to touch on something real quick, just to back up something you said about, not using your rack for other things because then you get lost and you can't remember where everything is set. Check this out. So up here, whoops.
Oh, yeah, lots of
scenes. The wrong one. Hold on. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Okay, here. So all of these, 1 through 64. These are all settings that you can save, and you can recall these on the fly. So you just
click on it and off you go.
Yeah, over here you just select which number it is and you click go, and it's instantly loaded and you're gone. You're running. You're
Unreal.
The other neat thing about this is other people that are running the XAir, and there's an XAir user group that I can't remember Maximo's call. Sorry, I should have looked at this before we did this.
Maximo from Spain. Yes, I've heard of him.
Yes, so he has a groups IO set up for the XAir, and obviously it's a great resource for guys doing the XAir. The other nice thing about it is you can click save on these.
Yep.
You can save your scenes, and then you can post them, and guys can import them, and somebody would have the exact same setup I have, and the only thing they would need to do would be touch up their EQ for their personal taste.
Yeah.
So I mean, talk about something that's you can do in a fly, of getting into this hobby really quick and at least get a really good starting point with somebody that sounds good.
Yeah.
Export the scene, let them import it, and then just touch up their EQ. You're done.
Fair enough. I mean, the whole concept is I would call it a budget friendly eSSB kind of approach, because I mean, apart from the XAir, so that's your entire setup, really, isn't it? The XAir, the Hermes, and the VK3 AMP.
That is correct. Yep. So I do run the Hermes Lite, which is a very inexpensive SDR radio. It's 160 through 10 meters. It is a single 8-ACK, so you don't have diversity. Yep. You don't have 6 meters. However, with the audio companion board, the AK4951 board that you can buy separately, which is like around $100,
Yep.
which gives you a microphone input and a speaker output and real-time CW tone, side tone for it. That whole combination of the Hermes Light 2, and then if you go to the 2 Plus, I have $425 into an SDR radio that works, in my opinion, every bit as good as, say, an Anon 200 or 200D, possibly even a 7000. Now,
7,000. Yeah.
I mean,
Well, look.
You got to remember, you don't have 2 ADACs, so you're missing a few things, but
Yes.
it runs Thetis. And you have the great noise reduction. You have all the stuff that's available in Thetis minus diversity and 6 meters.
Yes. Well said. Well said. And I think for that sort of money, oh boy, you just can't go wrong, I think.
No.
Well, rightfully so, you bought 2 of them, so you got a backup as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll actually have 3 of them here in another month. I have another one that I'm getting from somebody that's having an issue with it, and they decided to give up. So
I know this is now off topic, but since we mentioned a Hermes Light and the VK3 AMP, I think I need to ask Honda for $50. It's sponsorship money.
Let me know if you get that, because I'm going to hit him up for 75.
That's it. Oh, hey, I'm talking Aussie dollars now, by the way.
Well, that'll work out really nice for me then.
That's it. Hey, what I was gonna say to you. So, how did you find that integration with the Hermes and a VK3 AMP?
Oh, it's fantastic. Let me. I'm just gonna throw this out there. Anders amplifiers, VK3 amps, or VK amps, are tremendous bang for the buck solid state amplifiers. I have not had a single issue with this. I have now. The Hermes is only a 5-watt radio. That's another thing I need to point out. I have my VK amp set up with no attenuation on it, so I have to really watch my input. Typically, and I have the single palette, the 1 kW amplifier from him. Typically 2.5 to 3 watts, and I'm at just about a kW, sometimes 1100. Very easy to drive that amplifier with the Hermes. It works fantastic. There's no need for a driver amplifier, which is something I got away from. That was the reason I went to a solid state amp. I was running a Hard Rock 50 and an ACOM 1000. The combination worked, but there was weird stuff that would happen once in a while. And if you can avoid doing a driver amp with, directly inputting something, you're going to be much better off to begin with. Just a lot less weird things happens, especially with, trying to run pure signal and everything else. This thing locks 158, 162, which is like damn near perfect.
It is actually
with pure signal. So it works great. It's a fantastic combination. The XR12, the Hermes Light, and a VK3 amp. Running numbers off the top of my head. So I have, let's just call it 800 into the combination of the XAir and a Hermes. And then US dollars was roughly 2,700 for the VK amp. So, I got less than this and this whole setup and a KW than most people have in an actual rig itself. And I can tell you this, the Hermes Light, with exception to the Anons, this thing bang for buck, the Hermes Light 2 bang for buck, will outperform rigs that are $2,000, $2,500. I've had a couple other rigs. I'm not going to mention what they were. You know what they were. There is no comparison. No comparison on receive and transmit.
True.
It just works. It works, and it works fantastic.
Yeah. I know, and I could not agree with you more. And I think I was going to comment on something before I forget. You said that you got no attenuation on the input of your VK amp. One thing that Honda did for me when I bought my amplifier is he put in I'm not sure what it is, but I think it's a 10 dB or maybe even 15 dB. No, it's a 10 dB pad, I think.
That's typical with him. I think he typically puts 10 dB in.
Yeah, and for somebody like me, that would be perfect because I can tell you what, if I had no attenuation in it, it will be blown within a day because I'll forget and I'll click the transmit button with 100 watts and that'll be it, kaboom.
Yeah, well, I honored I've had this conversation. If I probably did, let's say 7 or 8 watts, that might be reaching close to a danger zone. At 10 watts, it's probably not going to be, it's not going to work out well.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
the other thing, and I'm going to throw this out there for Andre too, and I don't know which version of the amp that you have, but the newer design that uses the MHT 1803 devices, the LD
Mm-hmm.
Boss devices, those are fantastic amps. That's what's in mine. These things are so simple. If one of them was to blow or you had an issue with one of them, they're dirt cheap. They're a TO 247 case, basically a 3-legged transistor, flat style transistor case.
Yeah.
You cut them off the board, you desolder them, clean them up, put in a new one, and reset the bias on it, and you're done. You don't have to worry about something like a 188 or 199
Yes.
or the
Yes.
ART2Ks.
Yeah.
You can change one of these out in 15 minutes.
Yeah, you can. There is a couple of videos that Adam VK2PW has done, and I think they're available from Monda's website, showing how to change those transistors. And mine is exactly the same as yours. I've got a 2 kilowatt version.
So you have the dual palette.
Yeah, but I've got something that you haven't seen before. I've got a remote head on it. So my box is just a black box, and he built me.
You shared that with me.
Yeah,
you got special treatment.
Yeah, special treatment. That costed me a lot, but we're not going to discuss it now anyway.
No, that's nice what he's done with that, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that he's taking care of you, because I've known Ivan here for a few years now. We've talked. We've talked in a couple other videos with some other equipment and things, but Ivan's a great guy. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. Anybody listening, Ivan's a fantastic mate. I mean, him and Ander and all the guys that down there that's in that group of his, they're all fantastic guys, and love chatting with you guys, either on the air or over a couple other apps that we do.
Yeah,
you guys are fantastic.
It's been likewise, Rick, and you know what? It's been great fun since we got, I would say, let's use the term, hooked up with you guys, because you guys are pretty active. You got a big group there, and that's really beneficial for the hobby, especially for the hour aspect of the hobby, for the audio stuff. How's well, I mean, look, I am jealous. I have to say that, and there's no other ways around it, because I've listened to that XAir you sent me, the link for the 3630 net, and boy, you know what, man, when I hear that group and you got like 15, 20 guys, at any given time, every single day, I think you might, let's sell up everything, just move to America.
There is, I'm not going to touch on that real hard, because there's been obviously there's a bunch of people that don't like eSSB, and that's fine. Okay, look, if you don't like it, just don't use it, but don't complain about it. I mean,
yes.
Here's the thing: most eSSB guys that I personally know, are a whole lot more courteous than a lot of other people are, especially about bandwidth and people above or below them that they may interfere with.
Yes.
The group that you mentioned, we've been down there for years. We pretty much get left alone down there. And typically, we run pretty good fair amount of bandwidth. I'm not going to say how much, but we run a pretty good fair amount of bandwidth down there, and it sounds absolutely fantastic.
Look, I think we have discussed this in a previous episode with Tony, that there's nothing illegal here. You know what I mean? Bandwidth is not illegal. I'm not sure about you guys there, but I think it's we got about 8K in our license conditions here. No, it's more than that. I think it's 10 or 12K, something like that, but I gotta check on that. Don't quote me, but it's definitely more than 4. I can tell you that
correct
with great certainty. And it's, yes, we all know the fact that if you show up on a busy band with the 4.5K, which is like a bare bones for us, that's a bare minimum. You look like a sore thumb straight away, and people are telling you that you occupy too much and whatever that is. But I think with exactly what you and me are doing right now, this is building awareness, and I think a lot of people now actually know what the eSSB is. I think a few years back, like people wouldn't even have a clue. We had people like me and Onda and Adam and Tony and other people here that we used to talk on 80 meters. People will come up and say to us, what are you guys doing? Like, are you doing double sideband? Are you doing, they were asking all these weird questions. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think it's generally more accepted now. And that's the reason why I said to you, I would love to chat to John, because he would have been around where, the big dogfight happened on 14187, the petition to FCC or whatever that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very familiar with that. In fact,
Yeah.
I got a link posted to that whole outcome of that thing at the bottom of my QRZ page, which also points out that there is no basically limitation, like you were saying earlier, in bandwidth. Look, it's a common sense thing. I mean, it really comes down to using some common sense. And like I said earlier, all of the eSSB guys that I know, everybody that I personally talk with on eSSB, they're great. They're respectful. They're very knowledgeable. You'll find that those groups are very knowledgeable groups when it comes to a lot of things with radio, not just audio. I mean, just RF in general.
Yes.
The thing that we watch, like I said earlier, is who is above you, who's below you, and we all run very, very clean signals. Back to your little topic about you sticking out like a sore thumb. Look, I would rather have some guy running, and this is just my personal opinion, I'm going to throw this out there. I would rather have some guy run 5K of very clean, well-defined, no IMD, no upper, no lower, and he's in that 5K space, as opposed to somebody that's running 2.5K of audio, but their IMD shooting 6K up the band or 5K down below the band from where they are. They're occupying a lot more space, and not only that, it's trashed.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
you see that all the time. And look, sometimes, I don't get upset anymore when I see something like that. Just move on. But it's nasty.
It's best to do.
It's nasty when you see the splatter everywhere. But anyway, it's the way it is. Hey, a question I have to ask you. I think I've been meaning to ask this for a long time, but I never got around to it. Have you ever spoken to W2 or ONV? Were you around back in those days?
No.
No.
You mean One Nice Voice?
Yes.
ONV, One Nice
ONV.
Voice.
Yes.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, I wasn't. I do know that the person we mentioned earlier, John,
Yes.
NU9N, has a whole bunch of recordings of him.
Yes.
There was a big group that was on 20 meters here in the U.S. for a long time too, and I think that's where some of that stemmed from. And then I think they moved to 40, and then they were up the band on 80 for a while, and then they came down to where they are now. And they've been there for years now. But yeah, no, I wish I would have. Bill, from what I heard, had a fantastic voice.
Oh yeah. He ran all the AFX gear. I remember seeing the photos. I've never heard him live. I've heard the recordings of him, but nice setup and a very nice voice. He really had that presenter's voice, didn't he?
He had a great voice. I mean, the thing is, he could have probably, if he could have just got the bandwidth out there at the time, without a lot of, the effects and stuff that he had, he still would have sounded great. He just had one of those great voices.
Yes, indeed. Hey, I think that, how we, this could be just another suggestion, I guess, but that, 14187 used to be well known as a eSSB frequency. Worldwide, I would say in early 90s when, John and Bill and the group, Mike, I mentioned Mike before. I've exchanged a few emails with him as well, WZ5Q. And I think, when we catch up on 20 meters next, we should try to catch up on that 187 just to relive some memories for some of the people that they were in love with this part of the hobby.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. They're still a pretty active group. Now, they don't run typically I think about 4K or so. There's still a really active group that sounds really good down at I think it's 178, 14,
Okay.
178 on 20.
Oh, yeah,
Here
it
in
is
the
actually
US.
178. Sorry, I got it mixed up. It's not 187, it's 178. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's where a lot of those. That's yeah, obviously that's why I said before. That's where a lot of those guys came from. And Mike, W5ZQ, really great guy. Now he's the guy that did all the mods to the Kenwood radios.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know,
The SDRs. Oh, SDX.
yeah,
SDX.
yes, the SDX series.
Yeah.
He was the go-to guy for that stuff.
Yeah, it's very, very knowledgeable, very knowledgeable, and he's a very
Great guy.
very good person. Like I said to you, I've approached him over the email, asking him to do exactly the same what I'm doing now with you. To have a bit of a chat about the eSSB, but he did say that his shack is not functional at the moment. So we'll
Yeah,
see, we'll see.
He's been through a few rough moments here in the last few years.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Well, Rick, going back to the XAir and your setup, just to draw I would say a conclusion, if I can call it that way.
Yeah,
So there is a way to run eSSB on a budget that you don't have to dump the ton of money onto the equipment. And you can sound just as good as if you're running a full-blown rack.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that this is probably the bang for the buck setup, in my opinion. And I've been using this now for a while, and it's worked really, really well. Um, the combination of the XAir, the Hermes Light 2, and of course Saunders amp, the VK amp, solid state amp. Like I said, what is it? 27 on the amp here, roughly. That's what it was roughly here in the US. What's what it cost. They have one of them done here for the single pallet, the 1K. 425 on the radio, and roughly, I think it's like 389. Let's just call it $400 for an XAir. Of course, you got to have a mic. I mean,
Yes.
and that's another thing here. The mic that I'm running, like I said, it's a small diaphragm mic, which is great because you don't get a lot of background noise with some of them like you do with some of the large condenser mics. Granted, they're a little harder to find. The Blue Ember that I have, I think I paid $79 for this mic. It's the one in the video. It's this one here. It's a pencil style kind of diaphragm, small diaphragm mic.
Have you experimented with the dynamics before, with the dynamic microphones?
Yeah, I have a couple of them. I don't have something like an RE20 or anything like that, but I have a couple older Audio Technicas. And actually through the XAir, they do sound pretty nice. I mean, granted, with an EQ, if you know how to use an EQ, you can make a $2 microphone sound fantastic.
Yeah, true. Yeah, well said. Well said. Well, there you go. I'm really impressed with the whole concept. And look, something that I know you mentioned XAir a few times to me, and I'm thinking, well, that's just a platform, but you still need a computer to run it. But now that I've seen it, it's actually something completely different. And I love the fact that it's independent.
Yeah, actually, here, let me back this up. You actually don't need a computer to run it. There is an app. There is a GUI app that'll run on an Android or an iPhone as well, and this thing will run on Mac or Linux.
Yes.
The GUI interface. So you could physically run this whole thing without even running this, this GUI interface here. You could run this whole interface right from your smartphone.
Awesome. That's really, really nice. Well, I think I want to just what's the time? How long have we been going? Oh, you don't know that. Maybe I do know.
It's I don't know. It's 7:47 a.m. here, which is what 9:40 p.m. 9:47 p.m. there the following day.
Exit screen. Well, I don't know, but anyway, I think we've covered a lot of very good content, a lot of ground, should I say, in this video. And I thank you for that, Rick. That was really really good. I think
Oh, you're welcome.
there'll be a lot of people who can benefit from this. So number one, XAir is not very expensive. Number two, you don't need a third-party plugins because they're all built in to the box. And number three is you don't need a PC to run it. Well, you run it on your PC because you're just seeing the actual graphical user interface, but to actually operate it, you don't really need a PC at all. And
Sure.
that coupled with a small Hermes light and a good solid state amplifier, and you're set. And that's really, I mean, when you think about this compared to like my setup, you know, the Anan plus the amp plus the rack, whatever, that's probably 1/3. You know what I mean? Easy.
Easily.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, there
Like I
you go.
said, I know I got less into this than most guys have into a radio.
Yeah, true. I don't know. I've been tempted about the new G2, but we'll see. I think I'm gonna wait for a bit and see. Maybe they put up a Mark II or Mark III or something like that.
Let Onder play around with that for a while.
Well, yeah. He's got one. But anyway, look, Rick, thank you very much for your time and company. It's been a pleasure. And of course, we'll be in touch on air probably on next weekend, I would say.
Yeah, sounds great. And thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to talk with you. And I'm sure we'll catch you on the air here in the next few days at some point.
Thank you very much once again, and all the very best.
Yep. Thank you, Ivan. 7-3, my friend. Cheers. Have a great evening there.
Thank you, Rick. Bye-bye.